Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum all my students. I hope all of you are well in this corona pandemic situation. The last class we have so far done in 15th of March. After that the lockdown is started and the academic all the process were stopped. So up to 15 March, we have taken 6 weeks of class where we have performed 18 classes. In the 18 classes, there are 15 lectures are already given and 3 quizzes are taken. Among the 3 quizzes, one result is already given in my Google Classroom, and rest of the 2 quizzes result will be given when the university will be opened. So from now we have to take the online classes because university authority is already given a decision to take the class in online because we cannot sit idly for a long since. So after when the university will open, we will also create some counseling hour that who are not understand the topics in the online classes, he or she come to me and understand the topic again in face-to-face contact. So this is the database class. So in my lecture manner, there are basically I will give here in 3 types. As regular, I have uploaded all my lectures in my Google Classroom, so that will be continued, and with that the audio embedded slide will be given in English as a medium of instruction of our university is English. And in the LMS platform, when we'll do the regular online classes in any platform, that can be Zoom, that can be Skype or other medium, that will also be recorded, and in there we will talk in our mother language and English for the flexibility of the classes. And all the recorded version will be uploaded in the Google Classroom because the students who are not connected, the students who have the less internet availability or poor connectivity, he or she can be downloaded the videos in the later on and make the class and perform his duty. So let me start the topic. Before the lockdown, we have so far completed the transaction chapter, as I recalled. So now we'll go for the chapter number a new chapter. It is normalization. So normalization is a very fundamental topic in database because the word normalization, it make a sense that when something is not normal, we make it is normalize. So normalization is basically a technique of organizing the data in the database. Database is basically a full of data. So if your data are acting like malicious, if your data is not working correctly, or if your data is not coming to the interface with the correct manner, you can say that there is several types of problem may be happened. So the main problem of the database where the data is corrupted or data is not coming with a good patient, that is basically the data are not normal, because we may whenever we design the database, there are some requirement analysis, there are some ERD design. In there we are inserted a lot of attributes. Some attributes may be duplicated, some attributes are not triggered with good keys. So that's why the normalization is broken and the problem is arise. So normalization is a systematic approach of decomposing the tables to eliminate the data redundancy and the undesirable characteristics like insertion, update and deletion anomalies. So basically we can say the normalization is used for the main two purposes. One is the eliminating the redundant on the useless data. If you inserting some useless data again and again, the database will be heavy, your space will be lost, and that is create the problem in database. And another thing is ensuring the data dependencies make sense. Data is logically stored. So there is a lot of dependency of data. Suppose whenever you were entering in an university, you may have to give a lot of data like your ID, your phone number, your name, your parents' name, your local guardian name, a lot of data you have to put in a form. But whenever the data you are entering in a university, the university give you an ID. So the ID is the dependable factor where all the data are embedded. So we can say that the data dependency is highly impacted in the normalization. So the next thing is the candidate key. So candidate key is what? We have so far learned the candidate keys in the entity relationship diagram chapter. So here a candidate key is an attribute basically that can be used to uniquely identify each type of relation, each tuple in a relation. So a relation may have more than one candidate keys, and if so, one candidate key is nominated as a primary key for the relation. So recall the chapter ERD, interrelationship diagram. For more details, I have included one slide from them where you can recall the things again. So the keys. So basically there were 6 types of keys in a database. There are super keys, candidate keys, primary keys, alternative keys, composite key, and foreign keys. So super key, what is a super key? So whenever you are creating a table, you are collecting a lot of attributes. If all attributes are an entity, suppose a set of A is 1, 2, 3, 4. There are 4 elements. If you make a power of set of A, that can be 2 to the power n of sets. So all the combination, all the attributes are the super keys, can be a super key. So candidate keys are what? Candidate keys are the super keys whose value can be minimal. So what is a minimal value? So minimal values are that minimal values should be unique and the most frequently used. So the pattern which are very frequently used and which are very much unique can be shown in unique, that can be a candidate key. Among the candidate key, the primary key is which is the most frequently used. Suppose like you have ID, you have phone number, you have email address. All the 3 things are unique because your ID is unique, your phone number is unique, and email address is unique. But in a attendance system, so what is the fundamental or what we will like to use? Obviously your student ID, because it has a pattern like 1, 2, 3, 4, whereas you have the phone number that can be started with 017, 018, 016, 013, any number. So that cannot frequently used number. So alternative keys are basically after choosing the primary key, all the rest of the candidate keys are called the alternative keys. And the composite keys is that the composite keys is when the more than one attributes are jointly declared a primary key. So when more than one attributes are jointly declared as a primary key, it's called a composite key. And foreign key is basically a primary key which is used in another table as a reference. So when the base table have a primary key, when it's go to the other table as a key, so that is called the foreign key. So firstly, all the keys are making the super key. From there we can found the candidate key. From there we are getting the primary key. That is the concept of the keys. So the next topic is the functional dependency. So functional dependency is a topic all of the attributes in your table are dependent with each other basically. Suppose you have a table named student, it have student ID, it may have your name, it may have your phone number, your blood group, your parents' name, your address, a lot of attributes there, but all of the attributes are dependent on your ID. So in a table there might have consisting of a lot of attributes. From there you are just choosing one or two attributes which can be determine the other attributes. The other attributes are dependent on the specific attributes. So that is the functional dependency spatially. So functional dependency is represented by an arrow sign. It's a right arrow sign, that is x tends to y, where x functionally determines y. So there is two part, is the left hand side of an arrow and right hand side of an arrow. So the left hand side attributes determine the value of the attributes on the right hand side. So the left hand side is x and in the right hand side is y. So x is determine the value of y, whereas x can be multiple attributes and y can be a multiple attributes. So left hand side is controlling the value of right hand side. It is the functional dependency. So in a functional dependency there are two specific parts. One is the determinant and another is the object of determinant. So determinant and object of determinant. In the last slide I have show you the left hand side and right hand side. So you have to memorize one thing, is the left hand side is always the determinant and right hand side is the basically the object of determinants. Left hand side is determinant, so determinant means it's controlling, it have the power to control the other attributes. Whereas the object of determinants are the attributes which are dependable to the determinant. Okay, so if we show an example here, so you see here a table like student ID, their first name, last name, first name and last name. These are the two attributes which are, we can say, in the right hand side. So these are the object of determinants. In the left hand side is the student ID, it is the determinant. So determinant will control the object of determinants. So first name and last name depends on the student ID. In another example you will show the course name, course name and faculty name. So course name and faculty name depends on the course name. So here we have found that the course name and faculty name both are dependent on the course name. So another example, that is the faculty name is dependent on the course name and course name. Here you see that the determinant have the multiple attributes. So in the left hand side and the right hand side, in both sides there might be multiple attributes, and it is a dependable factor. So faculty name may be depend on the course name, may be dependent on the course name. So the last example here is the grade depends on marks, obviously, because a grade cannot be generated without giving the marks. If you are giving a student a marks of 85, it means he will get an A+. So if you give a student a marks of 70, that is mean A-. So after putting a marks, a specific marks, it will evaluate, it is creating a value of a grade. So that is why it is called the determinant is creating the value of the object of determinants. So determinant is controlling the object of determinants, whereas the vice versa, object of determinants is always dependent on the determinant. So there are two functional dependency, basically the partial functional dependency. So if an attribute is removed from the composite determinant but the dependency is not impacted, that is then it will be a partial functional dependency. Which is that mean? It is meaning that for an example, the course name and course name tends to faculty name. So faculty name is dependent on the course name. So faculty name is dependent on the course name and course name. Now if you like to see here, if we delete one suppose like course long. If we delete the course long, so we will have the course name. So faculty name can be dependent on the course name also. Again, if we just delete the course name, so we can get the faculty name from the course long also. So the relation, so the dependency is not violated, the dependency is not impacted, because of the scenario is totally normal, because both of the attributes, either course long or course name, can return the faculty name, so it is not violated anything. So full functional dependency. What is full functional dependency? If an attribute is removed from the composite determinant. So composite determinant is what? Composite determinants when the more than one attribute in the determinant side, it is the composite determinant. But the dependency is not impacted. So the dependency is impacted, then it will be full functional dependency. So if we delete some attribute from the determinant side, and the relation will be impacted. Suppose like here, the students and course long tends to marks. So marks is dependent on the course long and student ID. So if we think, if a teacher want to give some marks for a student for an exam, he or she need to two things. One is the student ID and the course long. So without knowing the student ID, if he put the marks in the course long, so all of the student getting the same marks, right? Okay, so if here we delete the course long, if some faculty put a marks in the student ID, so all the courses the student will done in the future, so get the same marks. So it cannot be happen. So for dependency purpose, a student can get a single marks for a course only. In the other course, he may or she may get another marks, so another grade. So the thing is that if we delete an attribute from the left hand side, from the determinant side, the total relationship will be impacted. The total relationship will be vulnerable, and the data will be come with error value. So we cannot do it. So it is called the full functional dependency. And the last slide is, if some attributes is created a chain, so or a cycle among them, that is created a transitive dependency. Suppose a relationship or a table name are having some attribute A, B and C. So if A tends to B is dependent on A, B tends to C is dependent on B. By the mathematical rules, we can say C tends to A, but that should not be real life scenario in the database. Suppose you have your ID, you have your name, you have your GPA. So GPA can be dependent on your ID, your name can be dependent on your ID, but your ID cannot be dependent on your GPA, because same GPA can be found by the different students. So that is the transitivity of a dependency. When your database face this sort of problem, this sort of transitivity, this sort of chain of dependency, or creating a cycle, so that will create a chaos. So whenever creating a chaos in the database, so data will be vulnerable, data will be corrupted, and data will not work as well. So that is why the system will be totally troublesome. So that is the fundamental of the normalization. So normalization, so far we have learned from this slide is what is normalization, why it is used. Normalization is because when the system is not acting like normal, we make it normal, because we are working in technical product, we are not working in the physical product. So technical product must be technically, logically perfect. So another thing is there is keys. You have to know the keys, the candidate keys, the primary keys, and the super keys, the alternative keys, and these sort of things. For the normalization, you have to know the full functional dependency, partial functional dependency, why the functionality dependency is impacted or not, and why the cycle is created. If the cycle is created, we have to control the dependency. So that is enough for this today's class, for the today's slide. Stay well, stay at home, don't go outside if it is not necessary. Take rest. Thank you and goodbye.